Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 22nd, 2024 regular meeting of the East Bethel, Minnesota City Council. Please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda under bill list. I'd like to add the supplemental payment summary.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to adopt our agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Item 4, Anoka County Sheriff's Office monthly report, and includes introduction of the deputies too. Hello, Lieutenant Derek Peters.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you can see, I brought all my friends here with me tonight. Yeah. So in the interest of time, I'd like to just get right into it, and then I'll do the bios, and then the sheriff would like to have a few minutes. So March had a total of 374 calls for service, which was an increase from the 336 calls we handled in February. We responded to 3 assaults, made a total of 22 arrests, and a total of 5 warrant arrests were made, with 116 traffic stops being conducted. That resulted in the issuance of 18 traffic citations on our roadway. On the 10th of March at 2:48 p.m., Deputy Jacobson was conducting stationary speed enforcement in the 3500 block of 229th Avenue Northeast and stopped a vehicle for a speed violation. Deputy Jacobson spoke with the driver, who acknowledged that he had been traveling above the posted speed limit. During his conversation with the driver, Deputy Jacobson noted the odor of an alcoholic beverage on the driver's breath and observed signs of impairment. Deputy Jacobson had the driver step out of his vehicle to perform standardized field sobriety tests, which he ultimately failed. The driver refused a preliminary breath test and was arrested. He was transported to the sheriff's office, where he was asked to take an evidentiary breath test. The driver refused all testing and was booked in our jail on charges of 4th-degree DWI and 3rd-degree test refusal. On the 15th of March, Deputy Arcan made a traffic stop on a vehicle in the 200 block of Elm Road Northeast for an equipment violation. Deputy Arcan identified the driver by Minnesota DL and learned that the male driver had a canceled driver's license. The driver was arrested for gross misdemeanor driving after cancellation, inimical to public safety. An inventory search of the vehicle uncovered a small amount of marijuana and a glass pipe commonly used to smoke methamphetamine. Deputy Arcan arrested the driver for DAC IPS and transported him to jail, where he was booked for the gross misdemeanor offense and released. And then finally, on the 16th of March at 3:41 p.m., Deputy Mo Broughton was dispatched to an address in the 18100 block of Highway 65 Northeast on a trespassing complaint. The reporting party stated that a male was there in violation of a trespass order and was cutting down trees. Deputies arrived in the area and located a male cutting down some smaller trees on private property. Deputy Mo Broughton began to approach the male on foot, who saw him and began to flee. Deputies told the male he was under arrest, but he continued to run away from our deputies. We established a perimeter and began checking the area on foot. A short time later, one of our perimeter deputies advised the deputies that had been tracking this male that there was somebody laying in a field nearby where they were checking. Deputy Mo Broughton and Deputy Redmond located the male that had run from them on the ground. The male was placed in handcuffs and arrested. He was transported to jail and booked on trespassing, flee on foot, possession of burglary tools, and damage to property. So that wraps up our month of March, but more importantly, like I said, behind me here are 7 of the deputies that serve the citizens of East Bethel. So as I call you guys up to introduce you, please just come on up, stand next to me. I'll give the short bio, and we can answer and stand for any questions that council or anybody in the audience may have. So, Raleigh Sorensen, join me up front here, please. So I did this by seniority. So Raleigh has been around for 27 years, 21 of which were here at the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Raleigh has worked our contract here in the city since 2012. He spent 3 years in our criminal investigative division working welfare fraud investigations, which I know he was very busy at. Other positions held while at the sheriff's office have been court security, school resource officer, FTO, and Explorer advisor. So for those of you that might notice a difference in our uniform, we mentioned this last year. These are load-bearing vests that the guys and gals working out on the road use. This is much better for your back and for your neck because all of your weight is being centered on your shoulders rather than the concealable vest that I have on right now, which is underneath the shirt. So it's a lot more comfortable. It breathes better. You can see some of the equipment has obviously been rearranged from the belt to the vest. So this is going to increase the longevity of our folks, make them comfortable. If we have happy cops, we got really, really good cops. So that's the reason why we have a difference in uniform tonight. So one's the dress, one's the working uniform. If you see us out on the road and we look a little bit different, that's why.
How do you run and all that stuff?
It's still the same wage, just distributed.
Right.
It's,
That's a lot of equipment.
But slow it down a little bit, not much.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Raleigh. Deputy Jordan Mulbratton. Deputy Jordan Mulbratton started in 2007 and has spent much of his time working patrol in Ham Lake and then our contract here in East Bethel. This is his 4th year in a row in our city. In addition to his 14 years of patrol experience, he spent 3 years in our criminal investigative division as well, much like Raleigh, working the welfare fraud investigator position. He is also a member of the Marine Unit and an Explorer advisor. Jordan and I have worked together for quite some time. He comes with a wealth of knowledge. You can always trust him to do the right thing out there. So, thank you. Thank you. Deputy Tom Kwan. Tom's got 16 years of experience, all with the Sheriff's Office. This is his 10th year working in East Bethel here. We spent many nights working together as well. So Tom has dedicated most of his career to our citizens in East Bethel, which is really, really good. Tom is somebody that knows a lot about our city. He knows the people that live here. He understands, what they need and how to best assist them from a law enforcement perspective. So again, another wealth of knowledge. He is currently one of our trusted field trainers, as well as a taser, firearms, and use of force instructor. So he just came down from training today. We're in our use of force training this week. So he was nice and kind enough to join us this evening after having a long day of training. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Investigator Derek Lean. Derek Lean has been with us for 8 years. 2 years prior to that, he worked as a police officer in Williston, North Dakota. I understand it was much different than an oil boom. So much different than what we see here on a regular basis. But at any rate, gained a ton of good experience there. During his time here at the Sheriff's Office, he's worked patrol. And he just transitioned to investigations last August, I believe it was. So he is currently a use of force as well as a firearms instructor. And one fun fact is that Investigator Lean grew up going to church at Our Savior's here in the city and actually taught confirmation there for 4 years. So there's a personal connection that we like to see out of our staff. So
All right.
Derek, in his capacity now, investigates crimes that occur in the city of East Bethel, things that we don't handle at a patrol level. So anything that might be a little bit more complex that we can't wrap up from the patrol side of things, those end up on Derek's desk, and he's definitely committed and willing to do what's necessary to get those convictions. So thank you, Derek. Blake Petrich. Deputy Petrich has been a licensed officer for over 6 years. Approximately half of that has been spent here with us at ACSO. I think he worked in a couple agencies up north. Gained a lot of good experience there, like everyone else, in their past departments. So this is his first year working East Bethel on overnights, and our overnight shift obviously is 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So this is one of the guys that is up when everybody else is sleeping and will respond to your 911 calls without further ado. So He is currently a field training officer and a member of the North Command Mobile Field Force Team, which is a conglomeration of agencies around the county who respond anywhere in our county for any type of civil disturbance. So any sort of large protests, any sort of violent riots, knock on wood. We haven't experienced that where we live, but certainly if and when that occurs, Deputy Petrich is there to answer the call. So we thank you for that. Appreciate it. Tyler Borgeson. Deputy Borgeson has been with us for the last 3 years. For a year prior to that, he served in our jail. And for those that haven't had that experience, it's a difficult spot to be in, working in our jail. But Tyler was fortunate enough to, become a part of the patrol division and step into a new role, having gained a bunch of communication skills out there in the jail. So being in close quarters like that with some of our incarcerated folk really teach you how to talk to people and how you treat people out on the street. And that's really nice to see. So this is his first year working in East Bethel during our power shift hours, which are 2:30 to 2:30. So that 2:30 shift overlaps with our day shift, which is 6 to 6, and our night shift, which is 6 to 6. So usually one of our busier times during the day is that power shift. Deputy Borgeson is also a member of our Northern Command Mobile Field Force Unit and is a veteran of the U.S. Army. So continuing to serve in another capacity, we appreciate. We thank you for your service in the past. So.
Still in the military?
No, I got out 2017.
Thanks, Tyler. Brandon Aldine. Deputy L. Dean has been with the Sheriff's Office for 3 years. For the last 2 of them, he served as a community service officer, which is our non-sworn people interested in law enforcement that deal with our non-violent issues, non-criminal calls for service, traffic crash protection, if you will, scene management, things like that. During his time as a CSO, Deputy L. Dean was a field training officer and helped rewrite our current training manual for our current CSOs. His efforts here indicated he was ready to take the next step and join us on the sworn side of things. So we were fortunate enough to have him as a sworn deputy now working in the city. He has done very well in his new role. He's learning things. You're seeing, all the great things that this career has to offer. Meeting a lot of our citizens, getting out there and making those personal contacts, which we appreciate. Again, he works overnights opposite of Deputy Petrich, so he's also up on the other side, the other rotation, up when everyone else is sleeping. So 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., and in his free time, he enjoys spending time with friends and family. So thank you, Brandon.
All right.
That is it for everyone. I know the sheriff was here and wanted to say a few words, but we, on the patrol side of things, thank the city and everyone around for the support. We feel that we're always supported out there by, these meetings and things, and the good networking and the good relationships that we built amongst council and then obviously with the department. So thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, these are the men that are serving your citizens here. I'm now in my 2nd year as Sheriff of Anoka County. I just want you to know that it's been a blessing to be a part of that group. As you might imagine, it's a lot of fun for me to be included. So with that, I just want to give you a couple of minutes updates related to how things are going in the office and so on, because for sure it's an honor to serve the citizens of East Bethel. We think we have a lot to offer in terms of bang for the buck. It's good to see Mr. Look too, a familiar face. Always enjoy seeing him. That said, Lieutenant Peters talked about the honor of serving the citizens and the feedback that comes from the citizens and how that energizes our staff. The way I phrase it is a 4-legged stool. We need 4 legs. Support of elected officials, very important. Support of the citizens, and we're not talking blind support, we're just talking support for the profession. A good culture in the office and competitive wages. At the Anoka County Sheriff's Office, we have all 4 of those things, so I'm honored to tell you that we're doing very, very well with recruiting and retention, unlike other agencies
Good.
in Hennepin County that are continuing to struggle. Frankly, we're stealing from other agencies because we got a good place to work, mostly because of these men that stand behind me. So we're doing well, and I want you to know that. Other thing I want to talk about is the jail, because you're seeing about a replacement jail for the citizens of Anoka County. I want you to know that the board as a whole takes or understands the cost and expense of a building like that is significant. I don't know of a government building that would be more expensive to build, just the way they need to be constructed. That said, they're very mindful of the expense as it relates to how this project is getting off the ground. There is some tension, maybe you've heard about this, between Anoka County and the city of Anoka. Minnesota statute requires a jail to be in the county seat, and Anoka City is the county seat. So that tension, though, is putting a lot of pressure on our county commissioners, some of which would include elevating the cost of replacing the jail. And so I want you to pay attention to that as it comes around, because it's very important to your citizens. Obviously, it'll be an issue that would appear on their tax levy too as a bond. And we're trying to encourage this whole project to get done well, but least expensively as possible. And as a part of that, as I go around to the cities that we serve, is that I wanted to offer to the council members an opportunity to do a tour of the jail so that they can see and understand it. You're gonna get a lot of questions over the course of summer as this project takes on. Maybe you've already had a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, but if they're getting their county newsletter and they're reading the fine print as it relates to replacing that jail, it's a significant dollar amount. Now, we can't practically offer anybody a tour, but I would want to extend that offer to you. A number of city council members in other cities have taken that offer. Simply reach out to me. We'll set you up and walk around the building. No more than an hour. We try to breeze you through because we want to be respectful of your time. But we want you to understand the scope of the project, the need for the project as it relates to the current building and so on, and maybe a little bit more of the backstory as it relates to how we're trying to address the tension between Anoka County and Anoka City. So with that, if you want to shoot me a question, I'm here for you. Otherwise, at any time, you know where to find me. I'm pretty available. So with that, I will stand for anything you might want to know.
What's the timeline on the jail?
I wish I knew that. 5 years ago would be the timeline that would have been needed. There's some structural problems with the building itself. When it was constructed, well, designed in the late 70s, built in the early 1980s, a low bid contractor meant something different then as opposed to what it does now. People are more savvy, and that low bid means low bid that makes sense. That's a project that meets your requirements. In the 80s, low bid meant low bid, so certain things like the foundation being adequate, stuff like that, we're paying the price for that. So where we're at, though, we have a couple of designs on paper. In the end, it boils down to the Anoka County, or this Anoka County will submit a building project to the Planning Commission for the city of Anoka that they have to approve, and they're not in a place yet where they're willing to approve any design. So it's in a lot of ways stuck. We're trying to grind our way through this, meetings, negotiating, horse trading where possible, but those are the kind of things that I would encourage you to reach out to your board member, county board member, to make sure they understand how important it is that they pay attention to how many dollars this whole thing's gonna cost. So it hasn't been approved yet, I guess is the short version.
Okay, do you think maybe by the end of the year, there could be an approval?
I would hope. The first proposal, or the first study to redesign the building was completed in 2017. So we're 7 years after that, and the building hasn't improved since then. And the hard part is the facilities people with Anoka County are weighing how much to invest in a building that's crumbling. It's that they don't want to spend money on a building that's going to be torn down, but if we can't get approval, then we're going to be forced to invest in the building. So they're good questions to ask your county commissioners for sure.
What's driving the cost increases?
Delays.
Just delays?
Yeah, there's
inflation. Yeah.
Yep, every day is probably tens of thousands of dollars. I think the customary math was every year of delay was $8 million added to the project. I think that was the number that we settled on. So no, it's not pretty. And it would have been great to have done this pre-COVID, because as you know, materials and labor has gone up, well, not exponentially, but an awful lot in the last few years, and we really need to get going on this.
So what's the sticking point between Anoka County Sheriff's and Anoka City?
It's the proximity where the jail is. Of course, the government center is right in there, and it's sort of shoehorned next to what they consider their historic district. Well, I can say whatever I want. It's NIMBYism. They see it as an opportunity maybe to get out of their downtown, I guess, and they're trying to pull a lot of levers to make that happen. They have certain advocates in state government level too that are trying to help them along in that process, but the statute says the county seat, and I guess to my way of looking at it, the city of Anoka benefited as being the county seat for a long, long time. And the idea of trying to finagle to get the jail moved elsewhere makes everything inefficient. It would be more expensive for it to be any place other than the location where it's at right now, both operationally and the cost of the structure itself. Because one thing that has to happen is the jail itself needs to be connected to a courthouse.
Yeah.
And right now the two are connected via a walkway. We can't have a jail that's connected to the courthouse via a van, because that's a lot of people that are going back and forth. We can't. That would be operationally very, very expensive. So.
Well, with the direction that corrections is going, I'm surprised that they're holding up what they are.
I am too, yes, because we get a lot of pressure from state corrections to do things differently. It was built in sort of a, cinder block, Shawshank Redemption kind of mindset,
Yeah.
and that's not where the state of Minnesota is at. I'm just saying, make of that what you will. There's a lot of expectations placed on us for re-entry and for providing additional services for inmates. I mean, the goal is good. We want to make them better people when they came in. How to go about doing that is a tricky prospect, but we really don't want to spend. I'm an Anoka County taxpayer too. I don't want to spend any more money than I have to. The way I phrase it, my 87-year-old mom is an Anoka County taxpayer. On Social Security, I'm very mindful of how money gets spent. She can't afford for money just to be spent willy-nilly, and I'm always mindful of that. So that's what I'm trying to advocate for.
Well, good luck with that one.
All right, thanks, council, very much.
Did you have
Thanks, Sheriff.
anything to?
Yeah. First of all, on behalf of the residents of our city, I would like to express a heartfelt gratitude to the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Peters, and all the dedicated members of the Sheriff's Department. Your unwavering commitment to keeping our community safe, your monthly reports provide a valuable insights into the efforts and challenges you guys are faced out there in our city, and we are truly grateful for your dedication and professionalism. The work that you and your fellow colleagues do each day ensure the safety and well-being of our residents. That does not go unnoticed. Your commitment to upholding the law, protecting our community, and serving with integrity is commendable, and we are fortunate to have such dedicated individuals looking out for us. We understand the sacrifices and challenges that come with your line of work, and we want you to know that your service is deeply appreciated and respected by all of us. Your presence in our city council meetings and your willingness to engage with your community are testaments to your commitment to the transparency and collaboration. Thank you, Sheriff Department, and all your members, and you yourself, Sheriff, for your dedication, for your service, and your sacrifices to keeping our city safe. Your efforts do not go unnoticed, and we are truly grateful for all that you guys do.
Well said.
Not every city council says things like that, and I want you to know we notice, and on behalf of them, thank you very much for saying so. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just say a few words. First of all, Sheriff, it was a pleasure working with you when I was on the county board, and one of the statistics we used that was shared by the county attorney was that violent crime has gone up 40% in Anoka County. Okay, that's an alarming statistic.
Yeah,
And these gentlemen and ladies too that are on the staff are putting themselves in harm's way for East Bethel residents. And so certainly we appreciate that and thank them for that. There was a research done on the FBI's National Incident-Based Reporting System to determine how many crimes took place from 2012 to 2021 in each Minnesota city that
that calculated the crime rate per 100,000 population in each location. And they looked at Minnesota cities with a population of 5,000 or more. So the top 25 cities, okay? Number 25 was Waite Park. Okay, number 24 was St. Cloud. Does anyone want to guess what East Bethel was?
2.
East Bethel was 2.
Brian Kirkham, the mayor of Ham Lake, sent me the.
Who's that?
I'm not that smart.
So Ham Lake comes in at 3, Oak Grove at 4, Egan somehow pulls off number 1.
Yeah, that's the one that surprised me.
Yeah,
was Egan.
but basically, it's the presence and the response of the sheriff and the sheriff's deputies in this community that basically sends a message that you come and you break the law in East Bethel, we're on you. And that's a valuable message. That's a valuable message that I think is important to the work that they do and the work that you folks pay for. So wanted to share that this evening.
Oh, appreciate it, Matt. Appreciate it very much. And, I don't know if anybody asked you this, but it just went through my mind. Is any time any of you can think of ways that we can be better in this function, besides just, budgetary reasons or budgetary actions, anything that we can do better to lead our people in supporting your department, your efforts, let us know, please. And we feel very fortunate to have Derek as our liaison.
He's a good guy.
He's a very good guy, very smart and
Funny.
got a good sense of humor. We really appreciate that.
And he can laugh at himself, I'll say, if he wants. He can laugh at himself, so that's good.
Yeah, so it's a good working relationship.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Take care. Next up will be Chief Rod Sano with the report from the East Bethel Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I would like to thank the Anoka County Sheriff's Department also for doing this stuff because they're always on the scene with us.
Yep.
And we work with them 2 to 3 times a day. And when they are on the scene, they're very professional and keep us safe.
Yep.
And that. Okay, now for my report. For the month of March, we ran 78 calls for service. We responded to 59 medicals, 4 accidents, 3 alarms, 2 fires, and 1 mutual aid. So far this year, we've responded to 279 calls for service, and that was compared to 297 for 2023. And that. Most of the time, when I'm up here giving this report, after I tell you what happened, I always talk about rec fires and burning restrictions. Well, this month, I'm not going to do that. Last week, we were out on a staging area. We were sitting for power lines in that. When we're out there with these big red trucks and we block an intersection or block a highway, we do it for a reason. We're not doing it because we'd like to do it. We're doing it for a reason. And that it's so you guys can't go down the road or people can't go down the road. It's to keep us safe, keep everybody else safe in that. Well, just last week, we were blocking for a power line. Person decided to go around that truck. We didn't know if the power line was alive or dead. So that person just risked everybody's life there. So, my guys aren't there, like I said, aren't there just for the giggles.
No.
And that they're there to try to keep everybody safe. And when we're on the road also, if we're blocking a lane or blocking an intersection, like again, we're gonna ask you to go around. And that, if we have a roadblock, it's probably because there's something really serious down the road.
Yeah.
That little bit of an inconvenience for the person, isn't as bad as the people down the road. They could be dead. They're not going home. At least you're going home.
Yeah.
And that. So we ask that when, we do have a roadblock, don't yell at us, don't yell at the deputies and that. We're just doing it to protect everybody, to make sure everybody goes home safe. And let's see, what else do I got? Well, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. Like I said, that is really one of our pet peeves though, is people getting mad at us I had other words to use, but get mad at us for going, blocking the roads because they want to go down it and they can't.
Probably the same kind of people that pass park school buses too.
Yep, same thing, so.
I'm sure they have something terribly urgent to do.
You guys ever get license numbers and report it?
Actually, no, you know, we're too busy trying to keep everything else, you know, in line.
Yeah.
Too many
You know,
moving parts.
And I don't know, I know some of you have been standing out on highways, you know, and we have one lane blocked. We'd like the people to slow down about 30 miles an hour or less. You know, people blowing by us at 60 miles an hour is not the greatest.
No?
And, you know, somebody happens to get one of those big red trucks, it's about $1 million to replace it. So we need to be careful in that. So that's all I have for tonight. If I'll take any questions on that.
Chief,
comments,
I got a
concerns?
question.
Yes.
You had a firefighter resign that had only been on since January. Is there something why or just?
It was personal reasons, the commitment is a lot. They hadn't started their commitment, you know, and like I've said before, once you become and you decide to be a firefighter, you have to do 40 to 60 hours of EMS training just to get your EMR card. Then you need about another 240 to 300 hours of fire 1, 2, and hazmat training, plus do 30% of the calls, plus go to all of our meetings. And it just gets to be, some people think, I'm gonna be cool, I'm gonna be a firefighter.
Right.
Until you get.
Big commitment.
So evidently she didn't realize really what she was getting into.
Yes, they did not realize what they were getting into. She, I thanked her. You know, about resigning, I told her if her life settles down where she can,
Maybe
once again,
more.
commit, feel free to come back.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it's just, like I said, people, until they do it, don't realize, you know, how much it is,
Yeah.
you know. Because, you know, at the end of the year, most of the firefighters on average put in about 400 hours in that.
Yep, we thank you for that too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, any other questions? Well, thank you guys and have a good night.
Thanks,
Well,
Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Item 5 on our agenda is the public forum. Pardon me if I butcher your name, okay? Brock Biersba? Okay. First try, what do you know?
Everybody does it. Hi, Mayor and Council.
Hi.
Thanks for having me here. Well, I'm not a professional speaker, so I'm just going to go after this. So first, I'm going to let you know what I have going on. I'm going to let you know a little bit about my history. Some of you guys might know a little bit. And then I'm going to tell you what I have going on right now. And then I'm going to tell you the way I hope this goes in the end. Okay, so I have a home business. I've been working on cars for 21 or 22 years now, pretty much my whole career. And so then 13 years ago, I decided, I actually got fired from my job and I decided to just take on some side work at home. And then that turned into what was a full bore auto career at home, right? So.
And what would your address again?
I'm sorry, 655 198th Avenue Northeast.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So what happened there is I made the mistake and I never tried to get a permit. I just kind of tried to fly under the radar and things were really good for 11 years. Nobody even knew I was there. And then I made the mistake again of hiring somebody. So then I had somebody working for me and he was loud, out of control, pissed everybody off. Sorry if I shouldn't say that. But that's where we ran into problems with the city. And it was on the radar that I was there. So, so then I got an extension for a year to try to find a new place to work in. In the meantime there, I let go of my employee, just kind of tightened everything up around there. And then my wife is a realtor. That's how much I've looked for a place to continue this on. Like, I'm not really looking for a full-size shop somewhere. I was hoping to do it out of my home somewhere. So if I was going to move to a city that would be more likely to let me do that, you know, that was kind of what I was looking to do. So after 2 years of looking, we've basically found nothing that fits us. And I'm sure I could spend a lot more money and try to find something that fits me, but that's not really my interest. Okay, so fast forward to nowadays, I'm getting a letter. I'm supposed to stop here in 1 month from working at the shop, and I'm not ready to stop. So what I was saying about fast forwarding to now is we've actually come up with an invention, my wife and I, and we're bringing this thing to market. So I don't know if anyone's taken a product from your mind all the way to market, but it's crazy expensive.
Oh, yeah.
It's involving everything we have now. I've emptied my 401k. I'm about to leverage my house. Like, that's where we're at, because I don't want to work in the garage forever, you know? So me going and trying to find a full bore building, I don't want to do it. I don't want to commit to that. I'll be real with you. I don't want to commit to that. I don't want to work on cars forever. I'm getting really sick of them. You know, everything's rusty and nasty and gross, and I do it every day, and I'm getting real tired of it. So I put my brain to work, and I came up with this invention, and that's what we're moving forward with full time right now. My wife is absolutely 100% working that. She quit her realty job. That's what she's doing, is bringing this to life. And I'm fully funding this thing myself through the shop. With every penny that comes in the shop is going right to that. Okay, so I know that you guys don't agree with as far as the code goes. Should I be doing this anymore? I'm sorry. But that's all I got. This is me, and this is all I got.
Yeah.
You guys take this away from me and don't let me do it anymore, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So
Well.
I'm hoping that I can at least get an extension for a couple of years. Okay, my kid's 17 and 13. You gotta get the one out of high school, get the other one well into it, and my invention's gonna take off, and I will never be working on another car again, I promise you that. But to go and get a full bore building right now, in order to continue that, it's gonna put a hold on everything.
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
beg you,
okay.
please let me do this.
Did you, that's why I asked you where your address was, because you reminded me of the situation. We dealt with it a year ago.
Mhm.
I'm pointing there at Steve Voss, the former mayor. We dealt with it early on when I got joined up with you guys on the city council. So when was this coming up for reconsideration?
His contract expires May 31st.
May 31st?
Correct.
Okay. And that was an IUP?
It is not an IUP. It's an agreement that the city created to no longer do code enforcement on a home-based business that's not permitted. His agreement was that he was going to keep the shop clean, aligned, no complaints, no noise violations, no ordinance violations. The city agreed to not enforce the pending code enforcement case on the
So it's give you a
business.
breather period?
Correct.
Yeah.
With the idea that he was gonna relocate to a commercial district where that business would be approved.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're aware of it, but we have had a complaint. That's why I needed to.
Can I ask what that was?
It's just that operating a business in a neighborhood. That's
Right.
what it is.
Okay,
yeah.
but
And particularly a business where, let's be honest, I do 90% of my own mechanical work,
Yeah.
even at my advanced age, just because I'm cheap.
yeah,
And, you know, as carefully as you want to handle fluids and all the other stuff, there's spillages and there's noise of cars coming and going and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I don't do it as a business like you do, just my own stuff.
Right.
But, and so there's people buy properties and they want to have quiet enjoyment. You know, that's a fundamental property owner's right. And they don't want businesses in their neighborhood. It's just the way things are in a lot of neighborhoods.
I understand it.
Including,
I
we're
work on a
dealing
max of like
we're
2
dealing
cars a
with
day, and I
exactly
probably
the
drive
same thing on Coon Lake Beach where two of us live near. And, it's the same thing as somebody operating a business, and you're not supposed to be operating a business.
Sure.
Unless you have, an interim use permit. That's the IUP thing.
Okay, so can I say something?
So, so I think we're all aware, y'all remember this situation, right? Okay, I just want to make sure we're all up to speed, so go
Okay,
ahead.
so Fifth Street, which is one street over from me, I could almost throw a rock to this guy's house, right? You guys approved 3 years ago for him to have a transfer case rebuilding facility at his house. He has a detached garage where he works out of. You guys gave him a permit 3 years ago to do this. I've been dealing with you guys for 3 years on this, okay? He does the same thing I do. He's got cars coming in, dropping stuff off, people picking up stuff, leaving.
I don't know if Brian voted yes for that, but the rest of us weren't here.
Well, either way,
on the
he
city
gotta go.
council. But that doesn't, we're also not held liable for what people did in 1968 on some other city council. We're just dealing with what we deal with now, that's all.
Right.
And
Can-
so
can-
if somebody, we're dealing with a topic later on this agenda, that, you know, none of us had anything to do with creating the situation, but we have to figure some equitable way of resolving it.
Right, and
you
that's
know,
all I'm
versus-
asking too. We got a whole new group here almost, besides Brian.
Well, yeah,
and-
but I mean, the people who live in your neighborhood have property rights as well.
Yes, they do.
And,
And I work on most of their cars. They bring them
well,
to me.
apparently a couple of them aren't happy because they sent letters to
That's the
us.
same one that runs a yoga facility out of their house?
I have no.
Can I say that any louder?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's the one that's complaining, has a yoga facility they run out of their house. There's cars all
Mayor,
up and down
sir.
the driveway.
The identity of complainants is not an issue and it will not be disclosed or talked about in this public forum, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All I ask is that you think
So
about
anyway,
this.
but that topic of your agreement with the city isn't on the docket tonight, but you did express yourself, and so but it's not on our agenda tonight to deal with that.
Okay.
But you came and we wanted to give you an opportunity to express yourself and your concerns and your desires, and you've done that, so that's good. So, that's about it for now.
Are you gonna give it a somewhat of a thought, or is it over already?
Well, it's not on the agenda for tonight, so it's not,
For the future, I know it's not on for tonight.
so anyway.
All I need to let you know is this is my entire livelihood. This is everything I have. If you want to take it away, I'm not sure what to tell you, but that's not the way
Well-
I'd want to live my life.
Okay, and I think we're done for now,
All right.
okay?
Thank
I
you.
think we're done for now, thanks. Ms. Rhonda Paulson. Hello,
Hello, thank you for letting me talk again
do you
today.
want to pull the mic down a little bit? Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Paulson, I'm at 19138 East Front Boulevard. Thank you again for letting me talk again about the upcoming subject that you have at the end of this meeting for the 19141 East Front Boulevard
Yep,
box mountain system. My first question is, why are you reconsidering your previous decision? Your previous decision was to deny the variance. What changed your mind, as there are no new information out there to reconsider? It seems obvious that city has been threatened with a lawsuit since it's the city's error that made this happen in the first place. If this is so, the city council should publicly state in this meeting that they made an error. On the next note, all residential properties require a driveway. And I'm reading this from the subdivision section of our city code. In all residential zoning districts, driveways located in an improved street we require a bituminous or concrete driveway extending from the street a minimum of 75 feet or to the garage apron, whichever is less. Driveway width shall be a minimum of 12 feet wide and cannot exceed 24 feet in width with the right of way. Approval of this septic box would negate the ability to install a driveway and thus would violate city code. Another question. Can the city legally grant a variance that puts the property in violation of other city ordinances? That's all I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And the final presenter is Angela Rogers. Hello.
I'm Angela Rogers. I'm the neighbor to the south, 19139 East Front Boulevard. In order to be brief, I will agree 100% with what Rhonda said and just add new items. I'm analytical, detail-oriented, so I tend to be very wordy. I wrote it all down. I'll turn it over to Aaron. Moving on from what Rhonda highlighted, one question that I have is perhaps unrelated, perhaps related. My question is, why is the property zoned residential rather than seasonal? It's uninsulated, unheated, and there are several structures like this on that end of East Front Boulevard that are clearly cabins. And so why I ask this question is because some of the statements in the three-factor test and the different papers in the packet imply that this is a residence. It's a seasonal cabin. Now, connected with that is my property is a seasonal cabin. My property dimensions are more constraining than Jim and Molly's. I have a perfectly functioning septic system, and I haven't pissed anybody off. There's no controversy. So to look at the three-factor test and how it's written, and the content of the justification for why this seems to be an okay thing to do is whitewashing it all. You know, like Rhonda mentioned about the driveway, that seems to be a big, well, it's not seems to be, it is a big issue. The structure is on my property. There's all kinds of licensing for what the city wants to do to protect themselves. What's the licensing for my property? You know, we have seen the different schematics about how to shield it with a fence. That's shielding it from the road. What about from the neighbors and, you know, the different viewpoints more than just the road viewpoint? Some of the mitigations that are, there's a packet statement that says there needs to be a monitor and mitigation plan. That doesn't seem complete. I don't know what a mitigation plan could be for an unwanted and unnecessary structure on my property. I don't know what a mitigation plan could be for that view on my property. I don't know what a mitigation could be, possibly be, for the landlocked piece of it and no driveway from the road.
Okay, can we wrap it up?
Yep, let's wrap it up. See, I told you about the wordiness. I'm also concerned about what happens if Jim and Molly want to sell next year. Just, you know, everybody's got personal issues that change your property ownership. What are the new owners going to be held accountable for, and what would the license content be for new owners? So it just, to me, it seems like a FUBAR mess. that
Pretty
we
good
need to get out of.
description.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And as Brian mentioned earlier, I believe you mentioned that this earlier, right?
For the supplemental bill list to be included with the bill list.
Yeah. And how do you think we ought to handle this? Should we take a 5-minute to look over this, or should we just pass it subject to correction, or how do you recommend? Because these bills showed up at the last minute. They don't amount to an enormous amount, but we've never looked at them before.
Mr. Mayor, if I can comment, the packet.
Please do.
Yeah, the packet comes out on Thursday, these bills came in on Friday, the
Yeah.
time is of the essence to pay for them, so that's just.
I wonder, why is time of the essence? Why is it so life and death that they, that they would come,
Just in terms of the next council meeting, and then processing the bills at that point.
Hmm.
So my apologies for having them come in late here. It was brought to my attention this morning. And I think it would be appropriate if you want to take 5 minutes to review.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yep.
Just to look it over.
Mayor, if you want to call a 5-minute recess and let everybody know that they should reconvene and be ready to commence such at, 7:55? That
Yeah.
would be appropriate.
Yeah, it's 7:50 right now, so.
Right. And
we'll
then just
take 5 minutes to look this stuff
to add
over.
on to what the city administrator said, by statute, you do have to pay bills within 35 days, and I suspect that sometimes there can be maybe some timing issues,
Yeah.
depending upon how things calendar
Oh,
up.
I
So
get it.
hopefully it's a rare occurrence, but, it can happen.
The rabbit in the inbox and the turtle in the outbox, yeah.
All right.
I'm hip.
So,
But we should, to do our due diligence, we should look through the stuff before we vote on it, so.
Sure, you can call a 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess.
And I'll mute the mics during that time.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll reconvene, so we're on the consent agenda, and we took the time to look over what has been added, amended to the consent agenda is item I, which is the supplemental bills that need to be paid real quick. So, anyway, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
as amended, I should say?
I'll second. I'd like to pull item B as in boy and D as in dog.
Okay. Any other changes, retractions, anything? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Okay, Brian,
The
item B.
first one is the city council work meeting minutes from March 11th.
Yep.
Looks like those are incomplete.
Says audio started late, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and there's portions where I think I talked later in that subject that, I don't know how late the recording started, but I only see one, I think one comment in here from me that, and so how did the audio start late?
I have no idea.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm not exactly sure on this. I do recall at one point seeing that there was a mute on, but I'm not sure if it was this meeting, so it could very well have been. But upon seeing that, then you make the mics go live. So that could have been, but it wouldn't have been more than a few seconds in the beginning, so I'm not sure if maybe there was a glitch with the system or we can follow up on that, but.
Yeah, it looks like there's a large section of that conversation that's missing.
You're talking about the Jordan conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall the section that's missing, or do you recall your comments? Because we can amend the minutes before you adopt them.
I recall what I talked about, but I'd have to get together with you to.
Could they be brought up on YouTube?
The work meetings aren't broadcasted.
We do record them, we don't broadcast them, but there could have been a late recording start on that for some reason.
So if, I'll make a motion and table these, and I will get together with you, Mr. Look, to add my 2 cents, and if anybody else wants to add their 2 cents to this subject.
I don't remember what the conversation, bits and pieces.
And then.
I don't know what I ate.
I remember the conversation, I don't remember what might have not been covered. But yeah, that sounds fine. Do we have a second on your motion? To table it for now, okay?
Second.
Tim beat you to it, Bob, sorry.
Yeah, then we should be ready for this at the next meeting to approve them then.
Okay. We'll just bring them back after it's cleared up.
Yep.
So for
So
B
motion's made and seconded
For B and D?
B, just B.
Just B.
Just B, okay.
To table it for now pending further research, and it'll be brought back at a subsequent meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Item D.
Item D is just a correction, page 31 of the packet, or page 5 of 16 of the minutes, line 1. Mundell asked if the ordinances said anything about monetary hookups. Monetary should be mandatory. And mandatory hookups. And unless anybody else has any other corrections, I will make a motion to approve item D with that edit.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes for that was the April 8th meeting, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. That takes us on to agenda item 7, and there's nothing there to do. Agenda item 8 is department reports, community development, variance reconsideration for 19141 East Front Boulevard Northeast. Aaron, I think you're up, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If you want to go to maybe the location map, should be attachment 1. Attachment 2, I take that back. That'll work. All right, on May 16th of 2022, the city received an application from the new owners of 19141 East Front Boulevard Northeast to allow the upgrade to an existing outhouse to a Type 3 sewage treatment system in order to make their newly purchased family cabin a future habitable residence. Due to the size of the 0.17 acre lot, the proposed design included the placement of a box mound, which encroached on property lines and required city permission or a variance for its use. City staff subsequently approved the permit, and the system was installed in July of 2022. During its final inspection, it was noted that the installed septic box mound was within the required setbacks. A variance for a reduction of the side and front yard setback should have been sought and approved prior to its installation. The applicant has requested a variance to the reduction of the property lines from the standards in order to place the septic box mound. The system, as was constructed, met all the requirements of the neighboring wells. At the April 25th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, a public hearing was held regarding the variance request. The applicant spoke about the incompleteness of their project and their intentions to continue to improve the property. 5 residents signed up and spoke in opposition to the variance for various reasons. The Planning Commission's recommendation at that time by a 5-0 vote to the City Council on Resolution 2023-19 was to deny the variance request. At the May 8th, 2023 council meeting, the variance request along with the Planning Commission's recommendation was presented. By a 5-0 vote, the variance request was denied. On March 25th of 2024, the city received a formal request from the applicant requesting the variance be reconsidered. As you know, Section 4, Subdivision 10, the variance process for the City of East Bethel, no application for a variance for a particular use on a particular parcel shall be resubmitted for a period of 1 year from the date of denial of the previous application unless a decision to reconsider such matter is made by a majority of the full City Council. At the April 8th, 2024 City Council meeting, you, the council, agreed by a 5-0 vote to reconsider the variance request. Considerations of a variance require the following three-factor test for practical difficulty. The first factor is a test of reasonableness, which means the landowner would likely use their property in a practical way, but cannot do so under the rules of the ordinance. In this case, a septic system is required for a home to be considered habitable. The approval of this variance would allow this property to continue to be upgraded and used as a residence. The second factor is a test of uniqueness. This issue for the variance is due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowner. The uniqueness generally relates to physical characteristics of a particular piece of property. In this case, the property has limited space for a traditional drain field due to the lot size created by a 1925 plat. There is an 8-foot elevation change from the front lot line to the ordinary high water level at the shore. Minnesota statute requires that a subsurface treatment system constructed in a shoreland area must have at least 3 feet of vertical separation distance between the evidence of groundwater and wastewater saturated soils. This property's redox feature, or groundwater, was located at 1.5 feet, or 18 inches below the existing grade at its deepest uphill location. In addition, there are current setbacks for wells and structures, as well as shoreline regulations for the DNR. The third factor is that a variance would not alter the essential character of a neighborhood. This factor is used to consider whether the resulting structure or improvement would be out of scale, out of place, or otherwise inconsistent with its surroundings. In this case, the Coon Lake residential districts have had significant number of variance issues due to smaller lot size and the age of the neighborhoods. Zoning and setback changes have occurred since this neighborhood was originally platted in 1925, which has led to a variety of placements of structures, fences, and landscaping across the zoning district. In addition, a neighboring property, 4640 East Front Boulevard, was granted a license in April of 2012 to use a portion of Sylvan Street for the placement of a septic tank, piping, a new well, in order to upgrade a failing septic system to provide to a property that had limited size. And in 2012, when that property was upgraded, setback requirements were much narrower than they are today. Some concerns expressed at the Planning Commission meeting were the appearance or aesthetic of the septic box mound. One way to potentially remedy the appearance could be to add screening in the form of a fence. Section 25 subdivision 2 allows for fences 4 feet in height or less to be placed anywhere on a lot, provided that they comply with traffic visibility requirements set forth in the regulations. Section 25 subdivision 4B is fences may be placed along a property line, providing there is no physical damage of any kind resulting to an abutting property. Section 25 subdivision 4F says no fences shall be constructed on public rights of way. The city council should make a determination on the variance request to the standard to approve or deny the placement or to allow the continued placement of the septic box mound with the dimensions requested in the variance at 19141 East Front Boulevard. If approved, the following conditions are recommended by staff. The septic box mound must be screened from the neighboring properties and the right-of-way. A monitoring and mitigation plan as required by the Minnesota Department of, I can't remember who regulates septic, MPCA, excuse me. The MPCA will require a monitoring and mitigation plan to be submitted and approved, which has already been submitted to the city and approved during the plan review process. This is a requirement for all septic systems nowadays. The existing outhouse on the property must be removed, and a satisfactory license and use agreement for the right-of-way must be fully executed between the city and the property owner. There are an approval and a denial variance for your consideration, and I am more than happy to answer any questions or provide any exhibits that you may have.
What about a driveway?
What about what?
Accommodations for a driveway. They gotta be able to get on the property.
So I would offer, can you switch to my computer, Matt? Give me a second to find it here. East Front Boulevard is located to the left of the screen. Coon Street is to the north of the lot. It is still labeled Coon Street. It's still on county maps as Coon Street. It is still on county plat as Coon Street. I cannot locate any vacated information in the county system that that piece of property was ever vacated. If you look at the survey, this survey was done after the construction at the request of me, of the applicant. They have approximately, I would say, looking at this, over 6 feet between the septic box and the property line, along with licensing this small triangle of this front right-of-way for the septic box mound. We could also authorize them a small license agreement for a small triangle of Coon Street for them to get beyond the septic box and onto their property. Alternatively, it looks to me as though this property has likely used Coon Street as long as it's probably ever existed as an access. Without us being able to locate any information on a vacation of the right-of-way, I don't know that they're prohibited from driving on there unless there are DNR regulations that I'm not aware of. I'm trying to find a picture.
Steve, that's not one of the 5 lots on Coon Lake, is it?
Yep.
Is it?
You want to elaborate on that for the rest of us?
Yeah, there's 5 vacant lots that the city owns that were put into place so people would still have access to Coon Lake that didn't live on the lake. And that's why if you go down some of them now, they have vegetation signs and, you know, don't.
Sylvan, one of those?
Sylvan Street was one
Is
that we licensed in
Longfellow
2012. Was
over on
it?
the beach, Longfellow? Is that one of them? Is that an abandoned road?
No, but there's
Road bed?
one down by Steve's place. And if you go over by Lakeview Point, I know there's one.
Okay, thanks.
This is a comparison map. Sylvan Street, which is the one I referenced before where we've given permission to use,
Right.
is 5 properties away from this property, where there is also a space issue, obviously, or an issue that needs to be remedied because of the uniqueness of the property.
Right.
In terms of view, this is what the applicants presented as what the property looked like when they purchased it. There is no driveway. There's no driveway access. This is what it looks like after the box mound was installed. As you can see, there is some distance over here that they could potentially use as part of a driveway access to get beyond the box mound and then onto their property.
Would those trees have to come out of there, those big trees?
Most likely. And this is my rendering of what it might look like with a white picket fence
Oh, yeah.
or a brown fence. This is the access that could be potentially part of the access. Again, if it's not been vacated as right-of-way, the lot has parallel right-of-way as well as front right-of-way on east front. I can't find a determination on that right-of-way.
So what happens if they decide to keep it and tear that place down and put a great big house up?
Well, the existing septic would have to meet the standard of whatever number of bedrooms that they intend on constructing.
So
if
then
that
they'd have
doesn't
to come
work,
back
they would have to come
for
back and ask for some increase
modification.
in or allowability.
What are the setbacks for a structure in that location?
Today's standards are
Right.
70, the structure has to be 75 feet off of the ordinary high water mark. This property does not meet
75 feet back from the
75
high
feet
water
from the
mark?
shore forward.
Okay.
The structure has to be 75 feet. This property does not meet that standard.
And
How about the width?
it's not
I'm
actually
thinking
the
side to
shoreline,
side.
it's the ordinary high water mark.
I'm
That's
thinking
correct.
side to side is what I was really.
7-foot side yards,
7 foot on each side,
unless it's a septic system, then it has to be 10 feet.
10 feet, okay, 10 feet, yeah.
50 feet from any well. The well has to be 35 feet from the ordinary high water level. And the well can be your neighbor's well and your own well. The septic system has to be a minimum of 50
Can you
feet.
scroll down that one more?
Which one would you like?
Go down this way, right there. So what do we look?
This is what the property looked like,
Oh,
Councilmember
before they-
DeRoche, when they purchased it.
All right.
This is what it looks like.
I wonder how they got in there without a driveway.
Or on Coon Street?
They've been using the lot has been using Coon Street probably for as long as it's ever existed. You can see there's clearly a driveway access down here that's been used, lots of gravel
Yeah.
over and over and over again. There was never a driveway access.
Well, how did the previous owner get into there?
Previous owner used Coon Street.
Yeah,
Previous
yeah.
owner wasn't a friendly person to deal with.
Hmm.
My family has owned the other property since, 1965.
So, yeah, Mayor, we'll have to be clear that we get this stuff on the record if we're gonna be getting information from, residents. So that's fine, I just wanna make sure that we get everything on the record, okay? Sir.
No, come up to the microphone so we can hear.
Or,
hear you.
or the mayor can restate what, has been stated.
Well, that's just a minor point of information, we'll call it that, if that's all right. As far as, I mean, we all know this is a hot mess. I mean, it's just the way it is. And the previous mayor, my two predecessors before me, I guess, but, you're on the public record in the minutes as saying it's a hot mess, essentially, and who's to blame and all that. So the, yeah, it wasn't, no, but as far as who's to blame and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this all didn't work out the way any of us would have liked. So the question is, what do we do with it now? And, so do you guys have some thoughts you want to share, or do you want me to launch into a diatribe?
Mr. Mayor, may I add just a point of?
You want to hop up to the,
Council, my name's Steve Voss, 19303 East Front Boulevard.
yep,
With regards to the 5 streets, the
Yep.
named streets, they're all along East Front. There's one right next to mine too. If you look, they're not lots. They're actually part of the street system, but they're not dedicated streets at the same time. So there's always been different stories from neighbors about why those are there, but our neighborhood's got some uniqueness that we have people, residents that are in their 80s that were born on this road when it was a dirt trail. And when they know how it was platted, actually one of my neighbors, their family owned the entire tri-oak circle, so they developed it. And they have one of these over there too. So I actually ran into him today and talked to him about it. And his dad was the one that platted tri-oaks, but he knew who did this side, East Front, which is right across the bay from East Front. But those roads were put in back in the 20s, 30s for fire access. So they can have a way to get to the lake if there was a fire. I don't know if we had fire trucks at that time, I don't know, it's a long time ago, but that's the reason for the access. And the other thing to note too with these 5 is 2 of these are actually used by the city for stormwater. There's the one right next to me, there's a stormwater catch base and the pipe goes right out to the lake, so it runs right down Center Street, I think mine is. And this one is the same thing. If you look at the photos, there's actually a large catch basin right in front of Coon Street, and one right across the street too. So that Coon Street is used by the city for stormwater. And there's also been discussions in the past with the Anoka Conservation District for converting this to a rain garden, things like that. And I remember these folks using that for a driveway too, the ones that live there. But it's also used for lake access for others. So, but that's what I hear from the neighbors I trust. I've been here for 70 years. That they're fire access.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well, that they are fire lanes.
It's a strange thing that comes up every few years. Something comes up in council on these things. So anyhow.
well, thanks for the clarification, Steve.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, point out that I have a historical overview of the maps of the area. This is a 2008 photo. The front of the lot is still covered in trees. I don't see with the shed and how they would have had access. This is 2011. You can clearly see there's driving going on here with this rounded curve. maybe not so well in 2014 or 17. 2020, you can clearly see the driving here, but nothing here, more vegetation. And then 2022, when the applicants purchased the property, you can still see there's access here and to where we are today.
So how much property is on the south side of the mound? Or does that go up to the southern border?
It is, let me pull up, we're not gonna use the design as our,
Use the survey?
we will use the survey that was done by the applicant. I trust that more than anything that we have on file or anything that was done before. This dashed line, I'll try and enlarge it as big as possible. The dashed line is the box.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It is
Not
right
even a
on
foot
the
away.
corner. It's right on the corner. It is not on the neighboring property. It's on the property line, but not on the neighboring property. But it is in the city right of way right here, and then up to this corner. The east front right of way.
Do I understand correctly that the smaller of the two sheds is the outhouse?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be going away anyway.
I would recommend if that, even though it is in one of the plans that I've seen in the past, that you create that, add that as a recommendation, should you choose to approve it, and I think I did include that in the approval resolution.
Yeah.
That that
the
is a
outhouse
mandatory
has to be
removal.
removed, yeah.
Correct.
Are you folks the owners? Do you want to come up and maybe talk with us a little bit about what your plans are for the property? At least I have some questions.
Well, let's start with your questions. Our
What are your
plans
plans for the property?
Well, for the record,
I'm
Yes.
Jim Moskalik.
Molly Moskalik. And I would say our plans are to.
And you live at or your property is 19141 East Front Boulevard? Okay, northeast.
Yes.
Thank you.
We plan to use it to enjoy the lake in the summer, to have our family come up. We kayak, we paddleboard. We enjoy being on a lake. That's it.
Okay. All right, do you have any plans to expand it or anything?
No plans to expand, but to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make it nicer, yes.
Yeah.
But not to tear it down.
Anybody else have any questions for him?
Yeah, which one? It's not the house that's showing, right? Or is it?
It's right, I can,
Oh, watch that first step.
right there.
There.
Oh.
Did you get that on camera?
And that shed that's in the between, in the foreground is the outhouse that's going to be going away?
Yes.
Well, okay, well, thank you. Thanks, that's, yeah, I guess I'm the only one who had questions. I've visited this property 3 different times, and I know a couple of other council members have as well. And it's just one of those situations where occasionally it happens. Somebody makes a mistake, and then you try to work your way out of it. Crucifying the city employee who made the mistake is not one of the options, in case anybody's wondering. So, yeah, so no, I'm trying to make some humor here. But, we all make mistakes, it happens now and then. But I know the one person expressed a concern about their view of Coon Lake, and to me, the view wasn't that hot to begin with all the trees and everything in the native state of the property. But more to the point, there's no guarantee that you're supposed to have a view of the lake if you don't live on a lakeshore property. That's not a right that you can claim. As my estimates, and again, it's on the record that, by the mayor himself a year and a half ago that, mistakes were made. But My estimate, just rough estimate, would be it would cost north of $20,000 to return things to the state they would have been if everything had been done perfectly. If everything had been done perfectly, you would have had a holding tank, and that was your only option. That would have been it. And you can make a septic tank into a holding tank just by plugging the outbound hole and then tearing out all that stuff. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of wasted effort. And I just have to wonder, just from where I'm sitting, if that's really the best option. I mean, I understand people, not loving it, but the strength of resistance against it surprises me. Whether it's a fence around it or whether it's a bunch of shrubs around all three sides, I don't know, that just seems like a more elegant solution to me than doing all that. But anybody have any thoughts, or should we move on? Those are my thoughts anyway. I've wrestled with it a lot, because these happen over on the other side of the lake, close to where I live and Bob lives, on Coon Lake Beach, all the time, for reasons mentioned. So it's near and dear to he's lived here, what, 40 years?
41.
And in about a week, I'll live here 28 years, so we deal with it all the time over on that side of the lake. And you just try to minimize the collateral damage, that's all.
Well, I've been over there a couple times and looking at it and just trying to beat it around in my head what to do. It's in the ground. They're trying to save the lake, I guess, if you want to call it that. They could have kept using the outhouse. They don't really plan on getting any bigger than that. I don't know if you could fit much bigger on there.
That's why I asked about the setbacks, is what could you really do,
Vertical.
But I guess, all things being said,
How many stories are you talking about?
I think if they're willing to work out a license like we did with Sylvan Street to where they can get in and out, and the other parameters that Aaron laid out with the monitoring, I don't know, that's my thought.
So as of part of the license that Eric has drafted, should the city bring sewer and water to this area, the license would then kick in and they would be obligated to remove this and connect.
Yeah, that's the way Sylvan Street is also.
Right, and we also did the one on Channel Lane the exact same way, like 2 months ago.
Right.
Yeah, and we're not planning to bring sewer and water there for a very long time.
It'll be gone.
Any thoughts, guys, you'd like to express?
Well, Jim and I were out there and we took a look at it too, and I can totally understand the concerns of the neighbors. I think it's important to consider that there might be a broader implication of this situation. Granting a variance to allow the use of the existing septic system would not only prevent the unnecessary cost of removal, but it would also enable the property owners to make the improvements on their property, and I think that benefits everybody on the lake. Get rid of an outhouse, make the improvements to your cabin that you want to use on weekends.
For my money, that shed is way more of an eyesore than that.
What, the outhouse?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Ma and Pa Kettle wouldn't have had that on their property.
The narrow, ness of the lot alone.
Yeah.
They're outdated structures and they can be removed. It's gonna enhance the overall aesthetics of the whole area.
But that's the same way it is on the beach. They were 20-foot lots, 20 foot by 100 foot or 24 by 60. And, $60 in a newspaper subscription, you got a lot. So a lot of people now that come up, they buy 2, 3, 4 lots, tear it down and put a big house up. Because the 20-foot wide lots, you just can't. And that's what makes Coon Lake unique. It is definitely a unique
And Front
community.
Street and Tri-Oaks too, same reason, I mean, just old, you're,
What do you think, Jim?
you're dealing with old stuff.
I was out there also, me and Tim went out there and took a look at it, and mistakes were made and it was put in. And it's hard to say get rid of it because basically we approved it. And my thoughts are it's that, personally, I don't think it's that big of an eyesore, but that's me. The driveway part of it, I think that could be fixed by taking out them trees right there. Come in and just take a right and go around their septic tanks that are in the ground right now and use that for a driveway versus way down where they're at.
What do you mean? Because where them trees are, that's a little bit higher elevation. I mean, you're gonna have to excavate.
Yeah, but if you look at it out there, because me and Tim, we walked out there, right where that shed is, that shed would have to get out of there too. But you could come in and take a right past the mound that's there right now to the right and just drive in as a driveway.
But you're still gonna have to give them a little bit, because what's gonna happen in the wintertime, you can't be making that sharper turn. So at some point, they'd have to have license to use a little piece of that. I mean, we're not deeding it permanently, it's.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but.
Aaron, on this driveway thing where it says houses have to have the 75 feet back, you know, from an improved.
Correct.
Wasn't that done in like 2010? So that would apply to all new houses, it would not apply to.
New construction,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
Brian, what are your thoughts on this matter?
I don't have any additional comments.
Well, I guess that being said, I make a motion to go ahead with it.
So you're making a motion to approve Resolution 2024-35A, we'll call it, for
With the stipulations that were laid out, I didn't write them down, so I don't know what they
well,
are.
they're in the resolution, yeah. So your survey, a certificate of survey must be submitted indicating the septic system location. It's already done. Septic box mound must be screened from neighboring properties and right-of-way. A monitor and mitigation plan must be submitted and approved, CMPCA. Existing outhouse must be removed prior to final inspection approval, and a license and use agreement for the right-of-way must be fully executed.
Right, but the thing that wasn't in the paperwork was about the licensure for the driveway.
They're gonna need to use a portion of the right-of-way, Coon Street right-of-way,
Right, but
and East Front right-of-way.
right, but we want that
It can
in
be.
writing.
Yes, that can be amended in the license and use agreement that we already have, the draft.
Right,
To include
yeah,
the
that's
portion
fine.
for the driveway.
okay.
As long as that's clearly understood to be part of the license and use agreement right away, then that's fine. And Mayor and council members, I'm not sorry, I don't want to be speaking out of turn. You've made a motion. I haven't heard a second yet, so.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, the
Mayor and
motion
council
is made and
members,
seconded.
I think this does provide an opportunity to essentially address the use of a platted street that has not been governed by any particular agreement for this property for many decades. So this is a good opportunity to actually have that addressed in very clear terms, contractually, not only for the city, but the property owners here and any successors in interest. So there isn't this presumed right to use. So I think that's very important that we use this opportunity. The second thing, there was talk about the existing seasonal cabin. This is zoned residential, but given its location, it is a legal non-conforming use. So there was talk about improvements. You can improve, but you cannot expand a legal non-conforming use. So when I heard talk about going, you know, vertical, the lawyer in me is going, well, no, that's an expansion of a non-conforming use. So don't just presume. And I wanted to make this very clear so that the residents here, as well as the homeowners, understand, and there aren't any presumptions about what use could be, is that fine, improve the existing footprint. But if you want to do anything beyond the existing footprint of the current cabin or residence and so forth, then you're going to need to seek additional approvals from this body and our building officials. Of course, I think are on notice now that those additional approvals will have to go through a particular process.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, I'm calling the question. All those in favor of approving resolution 2024-35A, granting a variance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
None heard. Sorry, ladies.
Hope you're happy with yourself.
Nope. And, you know, my hope would be, as a resident of Coon Lake myself, that, you know, I know we knew coming here tonight that not everybody's gonna be happy, you know, that's the way it is. And you did this plenty of times, you know exactly how it is. But I would hope that in the spirit of kind of moving beyond it, that maybe you can get the neighbors involved on, you know, what kind of, personally, I would rather have vegetation than a fence, but that's just me. But, you know, to how to screen it and all that, maybe get them involved in that process, and yeah, maybe you guys can move on. I hope so. Yeah. Yeah, you wanna have that when you're going out and wanna have a fun time at the beach, at the lake, you know, you don't wanna have that hanging over you. I think getting rid of the septic tank will be a major crowd pleaser, I really do, so that. Yeah, not the septic tank, the outhouse, yeah, yeah. All right, I don't know why I packed everything up like we're going home. Anybody have any, are there any further staff or council points? I see, reports, I see Nate is here. Do you have anything? No?
Sheriff's report, if there's any questions, I'm good.
Okay.
What kind of questions would you like?
Zero's perfect.
All right.
Yeah, anybody with council reports or staff reports or anything?
I didn't make it to the groundbreaking, but it took them about 1 day to tear that highway building down over on Lexington Avenue.
Yeah, it's just a pile on the ground.
Yeah. So that's gonna come up.
They got 60 years out of it, that's pretty good. And the new version will be quite deluxe, apparently.
Still think we should make a public utilities building out of that ice arena.
Well, that's a topic for future conversation. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else to do?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
We have an HRA meeting.
Yep, and I don't chair that. Mr. Smith chairs that.
Good evening.
You want the gavel and the?
No, I don't need that. I want to call the,
Maybe we could take a.
2-minute break.
Hey, Steve? Steve?
Let's just take a break.
He's chairing it whenever he wants to.
Prioritizing practicality and common sense.
Then approval of minutes, and then I'll go into financial update.
No truer words were
I
ever
don't know where
spoken.
I left my HRA at home, I guess, but it's pretty
Yeah.
I read the minutes.
Could be our t-shirt, prioritizing.
There shouldn't be much on it.
practicality and competence.
Yeah, exactly. There's none over there.
Should be just financial.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Still saying we should have got snacks or something. Aaron. I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, Aaron, that's your baby.
Frustrates me.
Just
I
cause
think it
Kate,
is.
just
Trying to be organized.
Hey, you can either be the Joneses or you can try and keep up with the Joneses. Where do you wanna be?
Order from the Joneses.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is,
I just want a piece.
what
Like a
happens to me
pizza.
is I bring all these pins home.
After the next work session, we'll have carrots and ranch and broccoli for you.
Carrots. So,
I might be eating that for a few months. At a certain point, I got to bunch them all in July.
Oh, really?
And then, of course, you know, every conference.
Uh-oh.
They're just pins.
I don't want to go down there.
And I don't think about it, throwing the bags, you know.
I was in Costco and they,
That's my worst nightmare.
Running water when you're. But it's getting to the point that I don't have to sign things.
It up,
Yeah.
here we go.
Hey, Bob?
What are we waiting about?
Vamonos.
Got a meeting.
HRA meeting.
HRA. It'll go quick.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Call order to the April 22nd, 2024 HRA Authority. Can I have a motion to adopt agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 3, approval of the minutes from January 22nd, 2024 HRA meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? To the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Number 4, Mr. Matt.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and commission members. For the sake of time here, I won't read through this entire thing, but per Minnesota State Statute 469.033, Subdivision 6, East Bethel HRA must prepare and file a budget in accordance with the budget procedure of the city. The HRA approved a levy amount of $77,000 in 2024 to ensure the legal status of the city HRA. There is a current balance, an unaudited HRA cash balance as of 3/31/24 of $210,537. Now, of the $77,000 that's levied, HRA's staff services for 24 are funded at a rate of $31,000, so it's a transfer to staff that supports HRA functions and administrative duties. So of that $77,000, not all $77,000 goes into the cash account balance, essentially. So it is the same amount as it was previously. We've had some conversation about what do we do with that money and should we keep growing it and things of that nature. $210,537 really doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity in terms of if you wanted to fund a project. But it could be, you could potentially pay for a study or something like that. Maybe that might cover a cost like that. So adding 32,000 isn't a lot. We could certainly reduce it from 77, but to the 45,000 or the gap portion of it. But before you here is just 77,000 as it was prior, unless there's any modifications to that.
I just have one question. Okay, the 31,000, that's for staff services?
Yep.
Okay, my question is, our staff is being paid normally. So now, how does this 31,000 come about? You know what I mean? So are we like double paying?
That's a good question. It's a good way to look at it. You're not double paying. Essentially, it costs X amount for staff to be paid, but 31,000 comes off of that would be in the normal budget because it's going to be offset by the HRA time spent. So if you were to say, for example, we're not going to levy anything today, in the HRA, staff time would have to be accounted for that, and staff budget would have to go up $31,000 essentially. So it's just changing the color of money essentially.
Okay.
So where does that show up in the budget? Because I had the same questions back when Jack was here. When the department's budget, there's a certain amount for salary, and then this comes up and the EDA has their 31,000 or whatever theirs is. This is 32,000, 31,000. So, are they double dipping, or if we're already budgeting the money for their salaries, this money is just.
Right, so the money that you see budgeted for the salaries is not the full amount.
Okay.
It's 98% or whatever, whatever the percentage is.
Right, okay.
And this is the delta difference for that. The accountants like to make sure everyone's kind of paying their share.
So you don't understand. Yeah. So
it makes it a little more difficult to understand. I get that, but there is no double dipping.
Okay.
Everything comes out to 100%. So.
All right. Thanks, I just wanted to get that clarified. Appreciate that, Matt.
Yep.
So do you have anything else?
Nope.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Actually,
Second.
you don't approve it.
Oh, we gotta approve, okay. We have a motion to approve the financial update.
Second. He made the motion to approve this.
You want a motion to
Right.
approve the HRA levy amount of $77,000
Yes.
and
Yep.
to include the preparation of the preliminary 2025 city budget.
You want me to say that, or is that what? Attorney?
That can be your motion.
You can adopt the city administrator's proposed motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt what the city administrator just gave us.
Second?
Any discussion? To the motion, say aye.
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 Any disapprove? Say no.
I move to
Hearing
adjourn.
none. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I
Yep.
moved.
Oh,
I
we already did that.
already made one.
Okay, any discussion on that? To the motion to adjourn? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion passes.